Hi, I'm Josh Ackman with Park Industries Customer Service Department. On this video, we're going to be showing you how to replace your slat holders and slats here. We're going to start with removing the slats and the rubbers off of our table and removing our guards here on each end. We'll remove them and then we'll have to mark our slats and go from there. Okay, now that we have all of our slats and rubbers out of it, I want to mark my slat holders. So I'm just going to put a mark right here on the angle bracket that's holding it to the tank. So then we can get a good height right away, and hopefully we have minimal adjustment then. Once I have each one marked out, I'm going to remove the guard on the side, the holder for that. We'll take that off of the slat holder so we can reuse that. And then I'm going to remove every slat holder here just by taking out these two bolts down here on each side. So now that we have all of our slat holders marked, we are going to pull these bolts out, and we are going to use a crane to lift out each slat holder. So now that we have all of our slat holders removed, we wiped off all of our brushes to get rid of any debris. We can take these up nicely. We're going to wipe up our slat holders, put our bolts in here, and then line them up on the lines here. And we'll tighten them down. along the lines, get them kind of snug so that we can take measurements and check our height side to side here to start out with. Okay, so now that we have all of our slat holders in place here, we're going to take a torpedo level here, with a magnet on it. We're going to set that on the side. And you can see that we are not completely level going vertically here. So we're just going to break these bolts loose here on this bracket that's holding the slat holder. And then I'm going to just use a adjustable crescent wrench here and watch my bubble, and then I'm going to just tighten that up once those are level. So we'll go around and adjust that first on all of our slat holders to make sure that vertically they are straight up and down. And after that, then we will come back and we will use a dial indicator and touch off on the end of each slat to make sure our height adjustment is level. Okay, now that we have the slat holders into place and they're on our marks here, I'm going to hook a dial indicator up to the side of the arbor here, and we're going to double check our height of our slat holders. So I'm just going to touch the dial indicator off here. And these are plasma cut, so they do have a rougher finish, but the more accurate we can get these, the easier it will be to level out the actual slats later. Whenever you're using dial indicator, always remember, watch the little dial. So I'm going to bring that little dial there to the number 1. And then I have my 0 set for the top, so I'm just going to go to 0, and then I can turn the outside just to fine tune that into 0 here. Once I have that zeroed out, I'm going to come to my screen here, and if I go to the operation tab and then the manual tab, you can see my positions right here. I'm going to hit user 0, so it zeroes out all my positions. Now we are going to raise back up. And we're going to drive to our next slat holder here and line this up. Come down with my Z. And once I'm just touching here, I want to go back to my screen again. And we're gonna, right now we're at 24 thou, so we are going to just slowly drive down until we can get that to 0 or very close to 0 here. Much right there. Now I can come back. I check out my small dial first here, and looks like I'm halfway between the 0 and the 1, and then I'm at 50 thou. So this went negative 50 thou here. So what we're going to do then is adjust these 2 bolts down here. We can loosen them up, and then underneath the bracket there is a pusher bolt that we can push this up, and we can tune this into 0 for this. So we'll do that with all of our slat holders around the table, and then we'll come back to the video once we have all them leveled out, and then we'll start leveling out our bars that hold our actual slats. So when you're leveling these out also, make sure you're also watching your torpedo level to make sure that that is level there. So I have my dial, I'm within 10 thou there. Loosen that up and just pull on that some. We're gonna snug it up a little, and then I can use my adjuster. You can see now we're 20 thou out, so I'm gonna use my adjuster bolt to get that a little closer to 0. Okay, so now that we have all of our ends of our slat holders leveled out and they're flush or perpendicular with our torpedo level here, everything's good with the actual slat holder frames. Now we have these bars here that we want to level out to make sure our slats are level. So we're just going to come down with our dial indicator again. And I already did a quick setup on this, so I'm just coming straight down. Make sure your dial indicator doesn't touch the slat holder in the back at all, that it does not hit. And I'm watching my small dial here and getting that to the 1, and then we'll just get that close to 0, and I can fine tune that into 0 here by turning that. So once that's zeroed out, we want to come back to our screen and use our user 0 again. As you can see, we're at a -8 here. Hit user 0. That will zero out your coordinates in your manual screen. We will come back up then, so we can clear that slat holder. And it's up to you how you want to do it. If you want to go on one bar or back. For the video purpose here, I'm just going to go to the back bar here to show you. Come down, make sure I'm not bumping anything with the dial. If I bump anything with the dial, I do need to move or go start over and zero out the dial indicator again where I started. I'm gonna come down with that dial. I'm just gonna get myself close to that 1. And then now I'm gonna just go back to my user 0 again. You can see I'm 16 thou off. So I'm just gonna get that really close to 0 there. And we can see that our dial is about 12 thou, 17 thou, sorry, 17 thou off. So we're just gonna loosen this adjuster bolt and we will raise that up. We can see our small dial is at the number 1. We'll loosen that adjuster and raise that up here. And if needed, sometimes they get a little tough to pull up, so I'm going to use a C-clamp here and pull that up some. The more accurate you get this, the more accurate your slats will be, which would make your miter cuts more accurate. So once I have that close to 0, we'll just snug this bolt up. snugged up. So now we're at that. Now we're just gonna repeat the process for all of our bars, our adjuster bars on our slat holders. Repeat it for every one to get them zeroed out through the entire table. Okay, now that we have all of our adjuster bars on our slat holders leveled out, utilizing our pusher bolts in the center of them and using the clamp, we got everything level within a couple thou here on every one. Now it's time to put our slats back in, and we're just going to go through our slats, getting rid of any of the slats that are broken like this or damaged too much. With that, we'll put new slats in, also double checking our rubbers, any rubbers that are cut up too much. You can splice your rubbers. If you're 3/4 of it is good yet, you can cut the rubbers and splice them together if needed. So we're going to put all slats and rubbers back on, and then after that we will double check our levelness, and we'll show you how to check it with a dial indicator and with the height sensor. Okay, so now we're going to start putting our slats in. You want to make sure you get the right pattern to your plate that's on the end to keep pieces from falling in and your feet and stuff. So we're going to start on the end one on the beginning of the slat holder here, and then just how my piece goes, I can see it pushes out, so we're going to go in the second slot here, pull back to the first, and then the second again, and then back to the first one. Put that in there, and we can always double check our work here by putting the guard on. You can drop that into place, and it matches our flow, our slat matches the flow of the guard. So now we'll just keep going and following that pattern. It will go on the next one on every one. We won't be skipping anymore. Okay, now that we have all the slats and rubbers back in, we're just going to double check on top of our rubbers to make sure that everything is level. So I'm still going to use, in this process, I'm going to use the dial indicator yet. I'm just going to come down. I want to make sure I have a nice clean rubber here. Once again, utilizing my small dial there. We're going to go to the number 1 and then go to 0. Now I'm going to come back to the screen and use my user 0 again. So operation, and then the manual screen, and then my user 0, we'll switch that to 0. I'm going to raise my Z-axis up and drive directly back to wherever I want to measure next. Now I am reusing some of the rubbers. We do want to make sure when we're checking this we are on nice smooth rubber and not in a cut line or anything like that. Get our Z-axis set close here. And then I'm just gonna double check. I'm gonna go back to my screen on my user 0. And we're gonna zero that out. And then come back here. I wanna double check. So I am lower than what I was before. So I want to make sure everything's seated correctly. So I'm just going to go back to my beginning, and it looks like actually my rubber was a little bit high on where I started. So I want to push that down, come back to there, and make sure I got close to 0 there, that it is level. I also want to, from there on, we're just going to go on multiple spots on the table and double check that we have user 0, or that we have 0 on the entire table. Okay, so now we are also going to test our height with using our height sensor. So first, we're going to start out on a nice clean rubber strip there. I already have it lined up. I'm going to go to my screen and hit Calibrate, and we're just going to hit yes, calibrate our height sensor. And our motion disable is on yet, so turn that off. Calibrate our height sensor. It's just going to touch off onto the rubber. And that calibrated it there then. So now it should be zeroed there. We can also hit test, and it'll just do a test run. You can also do that before you calibrate to make sure it is hitting the rubber perfectly. So our height sensor then is 0 there, because that's where we calibrated. Now I'm going to just move positions here. And I'll come back to my screen, and I'm just gonna hit test. Make sure it comes down on the rubber fine. We're going to test, and the height sensor will come down onto a new rubber piece. After that gets done, it'll show you, and it looks like this was 14 thousandths off this piece of rubber. So we're going to do that on multiple points of the table to get our level for, double check everything, that everything is level and good with the table, slats, and the rubbers there. Okay, so now that our table's all level, we want to first touch off our Z offset. So we're gonna remove our blade shroud here. Use the cover, and then we're gonna put our 15-inch aluminum jig on. I already broke my nut loose. Might have to use a rubber mallet to break this loose. Remember, it's left-handed threads. Pull our blade off with our spacer. We'll put our 15-inch aluminum jig on that the machine came with. I'm just gonna barely snug it up just to make sure it holds straight. I'm gonna come with my pendant here. Reset, my system just shut off, my pendant timed out. I'm going to come over here where I know I have all brand new nice rubber. We're going to Z down. until this just touches. So I'm just going to slowly move it, jogging with my slow button and my Z down. Until I just can feel that jig hitting the rubber. Right there, I can move it, and it just moves the rubber a little bit there, back and forth. So once I get that set, we're going to go back to our screen. We're going to go to Advanced Setup. We're going to go to our Work Offsets tab, and then we're going to capture our Z height. The system will shut off after you capture that. We can turn our system right back on. Activate our pendant again. And now we can Z up. And the next step would be is to do the blade. We'll go right into blade touch off also right away here. Okay, once we have our Z offset set then we can set our blade Z. So I'm just going to come down on the Z axis until the blade just touches the rubber. There, I just see it move that rubber a little bit. Once we have that Z height set, come back to our screen again. We'll go to Setup and the Machine Setup tab, and then we'll capture length on the blade. We're going to touch our nozzle off now. So we're going to come down with our nozzle. Come down with our Z height, and then just line up once again on a nice piece of rubber here. We'll use a sheet of paper to test. You can see it's moving yet, and I want it just so it starts grabbing that sheet of paper. So I'm going to start using my slow incremental jog button. And right there, that one just grabbed. So I'm going to back up just a little bit. And right there I have slight drag on it that I can feel it grabbing. Now we'll come back to our screen, and then we will capture our nozzle length. Your nozzle will raise back up, and that length is captured then. And that should be all for replacing slats and rubbers. After that, just run your calibration, your test cutout, your TPC square there, and if that comes out good, then you should be able to run. Like always, give us a call at Park Industries Customer Service if you have any questions about any of this. Thank you.